This is Abbey Lee's first interview since serving 8 months in federal prison for bankruptcy fraud.
Maddie Ziegler was your favorite. She's recently come out and talked about how the environment was toxic. How do you feel about that?
She deserves nothing. Done. You, Abby.
And she gets you so nervous that you can't function. Like, this is not right over dance class.
Abbey Lee Miller is a monster. She is a bully and a predator. She's also a convicted felon. Abbey Lee used her show Dance Moms to put young girls in traumatizing situations, and eventually her karma caught up to her. So let's get into it. We all know Abbey Lee Miller from her show Dance Moms and her chaotic behavior throughout her career. I mean, recently she's been trending for all the wrong reasons because she went on to the Sophia with an F podcast and admitted to liking high school boys.
Have you seen
What?
All the Right Moves?
No.
That's the best movie ever.
with him in it?
Oh my God, yes, All the Right Moves. He's a high school football player. Oh my God.
Ooh.
That's my downfall. I like the high school football players. I still like them.
But that's not it, because in the same podcast, she also admitted to giving one of her dancers special treatment, which other moms called out back when the show was running, and Abbey denied it. But on this podcast, she admitted that it was true.
Maddie Ziegler was your favorite. She's recently come out and talked about how the environment was toxic or abusive or whatever she said.
I've had many favorites throughout the years. One of them is in Hamilton on Broadway right now. He just left Funny Girl to go back into Hamilton. I have a dance supervisor of Wicked all over the world. I have lots of favorites. Maddie's mother went to the school, picked her up, brought her to the dance studio where she learned her solo without any cameras there. And this went on for years. So the favorite thing could have been any one of the kids whose mothers were willing to go get them out of school all day.
So these two statements have people talking about Abbey Lee Miller, but she's been problematic for a long time. And today we're going to talk a little bit about her past. Maddie Ziegler is one of the most successful dancers from this show, besides JoJo Siwa, and she calls Dance Moms sad and toxic. Says she never wants to speak to Abbey Lee Miller again. You guys may recognize Maddie's name because she's very close, very close with Sia. I don't know if you guys have seen my video about their relationship, but it's very uncomfortable. But we're not talking about Sia and her predatory behavior today. We're talking about how toxic and nasty Abbey Lee Miller is and the fact that Maddie wouldn't even want to speak to her again. Maddie says that her and her family went through a lot of stress while being on the show. They tried to leave at some point, but was forced to stay due to their network contract. Quote, my family and I really tried to leave for the last 3 seasons, but when you're in a contract, it's really hard. Eventually, I got out. Dance Mom fans will remember the infamous episode in which Maddie's mom, Melissa, broke the news to Abbey Lee that Maddie and her sister, Mackenzie, were leaving Abby's elite dance team. Abbey Lee responded by crying for hours and locking herself in her office.
I appreciate you and everything you've done for my kids. But we're gonna, after this season, we're just gonna not be on the elite team anymore.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's hard. You know how I love the ALDC.
So the rumors are true.
One thing about Abbey Lee Miller is that she knows how to play victim. Remember the one time she was in the theater while they were performing and she was on her phone and someone asked her to get off of her phone and she was so offended that she wheeled her wheelchair over to the police department and there was a whole team trying to locate her.
You preach theater etiquette to my kids. Put your phone away.
I don't know. I think I'm going to go to Baskin Robbins.
What is going on?
How lost is she hauling ass?
Where did she go out?
Abbey Lee Miller is such a mess. I will never forget that clip. But let's get back to Melissa and her argument.
I don't want to see them on So You Think You Can Dance Kids. I don't want them doing anything like that.
Don't worry, Maddie's not going on that, so.
All right. Why didn't you tell me before this?
Honestly, Abbey Lee Miller doesn't seem like the type of person you could just call up and ask for her permission. Maddie was quoted saying that Abbey was distraught for the longest time. We felt so guilty. She trained me, she helped me, but also I knew I would be okay without her, and I was sick of being in a toxic environment. And of course, it was an incredibly toxic environment because these are young girls, emotions are heightened, and then Abbey Lee acts like a dictator in these settings.
And it's evident Abby's agitated and upset.
She can't handle it. She can't handle it.
And this is not the time or place to have this type of conversation.
It's actually incredible to watch how scared these moms and these young girls are of Abbey, of upsetting her, getting her angry, telling her the truth. And that's what facilitates this toxic environment, this environment that we see Ellen DeGeneres have and Jimmy Fallon and all these other terrible people.
Where's Abbey?
We just had a really emotional moment with the girls and the moms, and unfortunately, Abbey wasn't there to be a part of it. It's clear that Abby's very upset.
Now, I'm sure Abbey was sad to see Maddie go because Maddie was one of her star dancers. But at some point, there were others who were let go, and actually they came back to haunt Abbey. Let's break down the Dance Moms lawsuit that Paige Hyland fired against Abbey Lee Miller. Now, these court documents were revealed in 2017, and they claimed that Abbey Lee would often get physically abusive with her students. The documents allege that Abbey pinched her students until they bled and would often get physical in other ways on set. Some of the documents also claim that the abuse was directed at Paige, specifically when her mom wasn't around.
Most Dance Moms fans know that Paige famously sued Abbey, but a lot of people don't know what she actually sued her for. The documents for the lawsuit revealed that Abbey could allegedly be physically abusive with her students. They even allege that Abbey pinched students until they bled. They mention the famous altercation between Abbey and Paige, where Abbey tosses a chair across the room. They also claim Abbey would regularly verbally abuse the kids and was paid to be abusive for the show. It also alleged that Abbey would insult Paige on a daily basis, talking about her physical appearance, making offensive, false, and defamatory accusations about Paige's family, as well as other things.
Now let's talk a little bit about this chair throwing situation, because you would think this is from like an episode of Real Housewives. And I can understand that Abbey Lee is trying to be like, what's that one chef? Oh my God, Chef Gordon Ramsay. Do we love Chef Gordon Ramsay? Does he have a problematic past? Comment below. I hope not. I love Gordon Ramsay, but he is aggressive. He's hard. He bullies the people on his shows, but they're all adults. And his children version of his shows, he's not like he is with the adults. Yet Abbey doesn't have that boundary. I mean, she tossed a chair during a confrontation with Paige, and I guess Kelly wasn't there in the moment, and Paige ran out of the room because she was terrified that she would be hurt by Abbey Lee.
Look, she's looking to see if it's...
Where are the stoppers? I wanted these rubber stoppers.
I'll have them for the competition.
No stoppers. I mean, really? This is important. Kelly, do something. Done.
You, Abbey.
You don't need them for the competition. I told you to do it for today.
Now, obviously, everything is dramatized for television, but keep in mind, these are young girls in high-stress situations. They've got cameras all around them. Their friends at school probably talk about them being on the show. They're going to watch this. I mean, I could understand why some of these girls would have PTSD from Abbey Lee.
Look at that language. Doesn't that embarrass you? That she has to use language like that? That's what a truck driver uses.
Why would she do that to Paige?
You're finished. Next. Here's Solo.
Why are you punishing Paige? Abbey should have left the room, came and spoke to me, and I would have explained to her why she had no stoppers on her chair. Because I was busy doing Abbey Lee Miller's job, making her costumes.
And I think the worst part of this show is how far everything was pushed. It never just kind of ended right there. And of course, I'm sure producers tried to stir it up, and the mothers also probably didn't want to be embarrassed by Abbey Lee, even though they all seemed super intimidated by her.
I want to go home.
We are. Paige was frightened because Abbey is a 400-pound woman and threw a chair with my daughter in the room.
You can credit me for the rest of my tuition for the month. And rip off my credit card number.
Not her saying that Paige is scared because Abbey Lee is a 400-pound woman. I mean, okay, she's not in the wheelchair yet, so maybe she could physically hurt them. And if she was pinching them to the point where they would bleed, I mean, that's super messed up. That's really weird. Weird behavior to like, I feel like you can dominate these little girls like that. You guys may have known that I did competitive swimming my whole life, and I had some really mean coaches who were kind of like bullies, but they never got physical with us. The documents say that Abbey insulted and abused Paige on almost a daily basis, calling her cruel names and insults about her physical appearance and making false and defamatory accusations about her family. Even though I feel like Paige may have a case here, the judge doesn't. So they actually dismissed it, saying that there was insufficient evidence. Abbey has also been accused of getting violent on other occasions by members of Paige's family. Before Paige's lawsuit, her mother Kelly also sued Abbey. Kelly claimed that the two had a physical altercation in which Abbey was like grinding her teeth loudly in an attempt to bite her. Kelly also sued the studio behind Dance Moms for breach of contract, defamation, emotional distress, and negligence. But that lawsuit was also dismissed.
Every single girl in the group had to do the routine by themselves. She should know this dance just as well as everybody else.
Paige, I think you're having like anxiety, and she gets you so nervous. Like, this is not right over dance class.
Now, I do think Kelly has a point here. I mean, dance class should be somewhat fun. I mean, I think every sport should challenge you to a point, but not to a point where you're having panic attacks and you've got the cameras in your face and everyone is being pushed just so far into tension that it's all going to explode.
Yeah, guess what? My daughter was a wreck all freaking week. And now my kid is having attacks because she is afraid of you and afraid of what you're going to do to her. And you're allowing this with a relationship that you had with my kids and me.
So Kelly and her daughter Paige may hate Abbey Lee, but nonetheless, their lawsuits were dismissed. The only claim was for assault related to the incident with the chair, and the judge reviewed the footage and found no reasonable way that, Abbey Lee could have actually hurt Paige with that chair or could be injured by her instructor. I don't know the details, but I would assume, personally, I would think if she was pinching my children to the point where they were bleeding, I would be taking pictures of the wounds, and that should be something, but there's not a lot of evidence here, so there's really not a lot for us to work with. But let's quickly talk about Kelly's interaction with Abbey Lee, because she was arrested, supposedly for slapping Abbey Lee Miller, because Abbey Lee was going to bite her. So it's really a she said situation. But she also claims that Abbey Lee defamed her by implying in media interviews that she's an alcoholic and an unfit mother. Kelly said that Abbey Lee's domineering and often bullying and insulting leadership style constituted to the bullying and traumatized Paige having panic attacks. Now, we can't talk about Abbey Lee Miller and Dance Moms without talking about JoJo Siwa, because she's like the star of the show. And of course, Abbey Lee is super fond of JoJo because Abbey Lee takes credit for JoJo's success, but JoJo still has some bad memories when it comes to this show, and actually she reacted to a clip of her horrific treatment on Dance Moms. Reports read, fans were horrified by the manipulation and hate that JoJo and her peers received from Abbey as children, and expressed their pride that JoJo had still managed to flourish despite the trauma. One of the scenes in the video shows Abbey telling her other students, "I asked each of you to do a homework assignment. I wanted you to write about JoJo, reasons she should not be part of the Abbey Lee dance company." Abbey then supported the other kids as they reeled off their reasons, which included sometimes she's very loud, sometimes she's off with the dances, and sometimes she's a little too crazy. You have timing issues. Another young girl told JoJo, "You take opportunities from people who have been here longer," while somebody else pointed out that she lip syncs while on stage. In this clip, you can see that JoJo is visibly holding back tears because Abbey assigned homework to all these girls to bully JoJo because she's doing so well and to, I guess, humble her. I mean, it does seem super traumatizing. Like, imagine the moments in school where you're not picked on the team or whatever. It's like this is that on crack.
Okay, but this was emotional abuse.
The first reason is sometimes she's very loud. You had some timing issues. Sometimes a little too loud.
You take opportunities from people who have been here longer.
Obviously, you're crazy in public.
Honestly, kudos to JoJo for going through that and still staying true to herself, because I feel like after that, I would like change as a person. Being like a young kid, like I would completely try to backtrack everything and just not be this loud person. And I'm glad she was able to persevere through that. But then Abbey went on to scream to the rest of the class that she deserves nothing. Don't have an attitude. You are entitled in this world. You deserve nothing. Noticing JoJo's tears, Abbey then snapped, "No crying children."
Well, if you're so good, you don't really need to be a part of the Abbey the Dance Company.
Can you put her picture back up? She deserves to be on the pyramid. She was in the group dance.
She deserves nothing. Don't have an attitude that you are entitled in this world. You are not. Can't stand here crying. I want no crying children.
Well, if you yell at me, I'm gonna cry.
Get out.
Honestly, clips like that make me so upset, because how do these adults get off on yelling at these kids and just watching it happen? Especially the other parents, because it seems like everyone else just like sits back quietly while Abbey goes off on one kid. And if you're not the mom of that kid, then you're just like, what? You just like watch it happen. It just reminds me of like those studies back when I studied psychology, where like people, when they're in the presence of someone in leadership, they will like do things or comply to things that they normally wouldn't do without that dictator there watching them.
I want to be treated like this. I think
It's just her. It's just her.
It's just her.
She's just a jerk.
Why'd she just tell me to get out?
Because you talked back to her.
Oh, so she's a baby. She can't handle talking.
No, because her kids don't talk.
If you yell at any of those kids,
They're gonna cry.
they're gonna cry.
I hate the way that Abbey is treating JoJo.
It is really crazy to see how Abbey Lee simps all over JoJo nowadays, yet back in the day, she gave her hell. In another scene from the compilation, Abbey snatched a dress out of JoJo's hand and called her a greedy little monster. JoJo filmed herself reacting to the montage, mostly smiling to herself, as she also recited Abbey's "you deserve nothing" quote word from word. So, I mean, JoJo's doing very well with herself. She's probably very happy for, I mean, despite everything she's gone through. But either way, I mean, if she wasn't this big success, I'm sure she would look back on these moments and maybe wouldn't be as cool about it. Clearly, JoJo is in good spirits, because the caption on her reaction read, one of Abbey's quotes, writing, "You have to be ready to put your heart on a platter and for someone to stab it." And even though JoJo was trying to laugh off this entire situation, it really struck a chord with people, because the way she was treated wasn't okay, and a lot of people were starting to try to cancel Abbey Lee Miller. But no worries there. You don't have to cancel Abbey Lee Miller, because she was canceled by the police. I don't know. She went to prison. Some people may not be aware, but Abbey Lee spent 8 months in prison. This actually happened back whenever Paige and her mother Kelly were trying to sue Abbey. She was indicted on fraud. A federal grand jury in Pittsburgh indicted Abbey Lee on bankruptcy fraud charges for hiding more than $755,000 in secret accounts after making false claims about her income. So Abbey Lee didn't want to pay her taxes, so she tried to get around the system, and the IRS, they're just a little too smart. They will find you. Allegedly, she hid her income from the show, her dance sessions, and merchandise sales between the years 2012 through 2013. She created bank accounts solely for the purpose of hiding income. She actually faced 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine for each count. So how does Abbey Lee find herself in this situation? According to the indictment, a bankruptcy judge grew suspicious of Abbey Lee's claim to be cash-strapped after surfing through television and seeing some of the related shows. That November, Abbey pled not guilty to the charges.
In a Pittsburgh federal court yesterday, Miller was charged with bringing into the country an amount of money in excess of $10,000 without reporting it, and that's a felony.
No, nothing's worth that much money.
This comes on the heels of 20 other counts that have been filed against Miller, including bankruptcy fraud and hiding over $700,000 in income stemming from her TV shows.
20 counts of fraud is a lot. And imagine the judge just is on the TV and then finds you there and then suspects, she's definitely not telling the truth. Keep in mind, each one of those counts of fraud were a $250,000 fee. So like that times 20 is a lot. I don't think anyone can pay that bill. Maybe JoJo Siwa, because she's like incredibly rich. Like, isn't she like, I don't even know how rich, but I've heard she's very, very rich. She probably could have bailed out Abbey Lee, but in 2016, she did end up pleading guilty.
In 2010, she originally filed for bankruptcy. As she told us later, her dance business had been struggling.
I myself was in trouble. I mean, the whole economy was bad. People were losing their businesses. Children's dance tuition was the first thing to go.
But then Miller's infamous dance mom confrontations began airing and were spotted by the bankruptcy judge, who was simply channel surfing at the time. He accused her of not disclosing money he felt was coming in, which led to that 20-count fraud indictment last October.
It was also revealed that she failed to report thousands of Australian dollars she brought into the United States. She snuck about 120,000 Australian dollars into the United States in 2014. It was discovered that she divided the money into separate plastic bags and had friends carry it in their luggage, violating a law mandating that people that are bringing more than $10,000 of a foreign currency into the US must report it. Wow. I mean, this is actually really crazy. This is needs to be a Netflix documentary. Just imagine Abbey Lee and then her dance mom friends packing up all this cash to sneak it into the US. And I guess this all stems from before her fame, because before she was famous, she was strapped on cash. Before the show, we would be at the studio on a Saturday afternoon and sheriffs would come and post notices saying that they were going to shut the studio down for unpaid taxes. The studio was scheduled for sale at one point before the show popped off, and it's because she was not paying her taxes on the business. In May 2017, she was sentenced, and she was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in federal prison. Before the sentencing, she told People magazine that she was afraid of being physically harmed or R-worded. She said, "I think the prosecutor is trying to make an example out of me," which a lot of times these prosecutors, when they do get someone famous or notable, in their court case, they will try to make an example of them because they will get the press on it. It is interesting because sometimes fame can help you in the legal system because you're famous, you use that clout to get around it. But other times these prosecutors will notice that, they're getting a lot of attention from using your name. So they will try to push that case so far into the media and make it so bad for you so that this prosecutor can also get their 15 minutes of fame, which is kind of sad. But by March 2018, she was free. She was released from prison and transferred to a halfway house where she was given employment, counseling, job placement, and financial management assistance. I mean, do you guys think this was kind of her karma for how she treated all these girls? Now, Abbey was really scared about going to prison, and she claims that she did have a bad experience. Abbey Lee claims that she was abused in prison and they tried to rip her eyelashes off. Abbey Lee was making some shocking claims about her time behind bars. She served 8 months in prison, and she alleges that she was the target of abuse while she paid her debt to society. During the interview, Abbey went into detail on what she went through. Quote, "I had already been through the ringer. The first day was the worst day for me. They tried to rip my eyelashes off, which were extensions," which you guys know they put those extensions in your eyelashes. And then I guess they tried to rip it off. That would have been oh my God, so painful. Ouch. Abbey also claims that she was unfairly punished and put into solitary confinement after she was accused of sharing a photo of herself being visited by friends while she was in prison.
This is Abbey Lee's first interview since serving 8 months in federal prison for bankruptcy fraud.
The first day was the worst day for me. They tried to rip my eyelashes off that were extensions.
The dance teacher also alleges that her thyroid and diabetes medications were removed. She added, "I would have strange guards that were never in our unit that I had never seen before walk in and ask other girls, 'Hey, where's the dance mom lady? Where's that dance lady? I'm gonna get her.' Then they come to your locker, they take a can of red soda pop, shake it up and open it and spray it all over your clothes."
She says her thyroid and diabetes medications were taken away when she was thrown into solitary confinement after she says she was falsely accused of posting this photo of herself in prison with visitors.
I would have strange guards that were never in our unit, that I never saw before, walk in and ask other girls, "Hey, where's that dance mom's lady? Where's that dance lady? I'm gonna get her."
That's actually really disturbing to think that these police guards take advantage of their power in prison, which happens way too often. It's these people get off on being in control of prisoners, which is super scary that our justice system is so messed up. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I have a P.O. Box package item. One package actually exploded all over other packages, but I've got them. So this one right here, it looks like it's from Angel Drew Thomas, and they've been watching me from day one. I love your videos, and you make me want to be myself. Aw. I love the fact that you're honest, caring, and that you're not afraid to speak your current mind. Sorry for the handwriting. I'm nervous. Aw, this package is a line from my natural skin care, which is called 1964 by Anne, I believe. It is 100% natural and made with sulfur, honey, oatmeal, papaya, aloe, and shea butter. I will list everything below, and I hope you like it. Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. So let's go ahead and check this out. Oh, it's 1904 by Anne. 1904 by Anne. So I will list that below. Let's go ahead and see what they sent me. So here are the soaps. Oh my gosh, they look so good. Let's go ahead and open one and smell it. This one, it like looks like it would be honey vibes. Let's go ahead and see. ASMR. Oh, I don't know what this one. Smells like kind of like green tea-ish. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, I will list everything below. Let's also smell one of these as well. Let's do like this one kind of reminds me of my brand colors because my brand colors are like pink and blue. So let's smell this one. ASMR. It smells so fresh and clean. And the soap itself is just super soft. Like, ooh, you can see like, wow. A little highlight action. Thank you so much for these, Angel, and thank you for being a supporter since day one. I love that letter you sent to me. I'm gonna hang it right up on my little board up there. But until next time, I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.